I forgot. You're broken. I don't want to play with you anymore.
It's been a bit since I reviewed a FNAF Fangame, at least one that currently isn't the topic of debate. I mean, I had In Real Time, and before that, 5 Laps, but a lot of people were talking about those. How about one that, while not unpopular, isn't as commonly mentioned? Animatronic Memories is a Five Nights at Freddy's fan game released about 4 months back, developed by Inkerstuffs, a 3D modeler and animator known for their primarily comedy-focused FNAF content. You may have seen one of their animations already without realizing. I didn't recognize them when I found this game, but found one of their videos that I'd apparently watched through before. Their videos are pretty high quality, and so are their models, so when fans of their work found out they were releasing a fan game, they were naturally pretty excited as it was obvious the quality would be good from the get-go. However, I stumbled on this game on GameJolt without knowing any of its backstory, so I'm not looking at it from the perspective a lot of other people seem to be. I think that's beneficial though. Without a pre-existing interest in the creator, I can look at this with a strictly unbiased eye, and I'm seeing some issues. Don't get me wrong, the game is good. I enjoyed playing it and I believe it deserves the love it gets. However, it's fascinating to me how the cracks it does show, from standard problems you see in many other FNAF fan games to confusing design choices entirely unique to this one, make it fall just short of being an experience I would call amazing. Let's not wait any longer, here's how Animatronic Memories misses the mark. Iplier. The game begins with little fanfare. Just as many other players have, we're taking on a new job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as the Night Watch, from 12 AM to 6 AM. Nothing new there. What is new, though, is the aesthetic. Instantly, we are greeted with high-quality environment and character design, complete with an adorable spinning hourglass cursor. Everything looks like it jumped straight out of the 80s, and it's beautiful. This charm extends to the office as we jump straight into Night 1. The technology fits the times. What art we can see of the characters is colorful and fun. And while the room itself isn't a grungy, scratched-up broom closet, it's not a straight-up play place either. It's a good mix between pizza and business. I never thought I'd read a line like that. And of course, can't not mention the phone call. On our first night, a day shift guard calls in and introduces the office mechanics.
Now let me help you get acquainted with your workplace.
We have our camera system and 2 doors, one to our left that we have to hold closed, and one behind us that closes with a button press. Both have a light attached that you can keep active with the Z key. There is no penalty for doing so. The button door differs from the holding door in that it can't stay closed for too long, indicated by this meter here that increases the longer it does. If it reaches red and stays for long enough, one of the 3 fuses nearby will blow out and the door will open. You can close it again right after this, but the meter does not reset, therefore it's a good idea to wait at least a second before doing so, or you can easily knock out all your fuses. And if you knock out all your fuses, that's power out and certain death. Oh yes, speaking of death, here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza there are old and new faces we're gonna be watching over. The guard mentions that with the animatronics being high-tech for their time, they have the ability to walk around and greet guests during the day. But since it's pretty quiet in the building at night, with the only significant noise coming from your office, the still active animatronics are going to come knocking, and we have to keep them out lest they damage our equipment or us. That is, of course, what the doors are for. Overall, so far, the mechanics are pretty familiar. I see inspiration from other fan games such as Graveyard Shift at Freddy's and the Return to Bloody Nights and how the doors work. I'm not sure I recognize this specific fuse mechanic from anywhere, though. Having power outages be entirely your fault and not completely inevitable is nice, as it gives you more control. I'd like to see more fan games give you that sort of control without sacrificing difficulty. Right now, it's not hard to avoid losing a fuse, but it can get tricky on later nights. Anyway, Night 1. Not much goes on tonight. The only 2 animatronics who bother showing up are Bonnie and Chica, or mostly just Bonnie as I never encountered Chica. I did see her moving, but I suppose she's just slower. Both can be shut out using the back door. and you can tell when they leave by the sound of their slamming against the door before footsteps shuffle away. Keep those two away for long enough, and it's off to do the other two main segments of this game. The first is our duty in parts and service. An unknown person lets us know that our job is to perform minor repairs on an animatronic so that the day's repair crew can finish them in the morning. Tonight we need to work on Bonnie. Bringing him in on the conveyor, we see he needs a new module for his head. All this fix requires is us to take off his face and then detach the existing module, which is a slow and dangerous process. It isn't dangerous because of anything with Bonnie, no, it's because of Tootsie. Who the heck is Tootsie? Well, she's an old mascot confined to the basement, and she's still active. Us being down here is provoking her, causing her to try and jump us from the hallway behind us as we work on Bonnie. When you hear rapid footsteps approaching, she's running towards you and fast, and you've only got a little time to be facing her and charging the stun stick you've been provided to give her a nasty shock. That'll reset her back to her hiding spot, and your belongings are free of bombs for another day. Fun fact, if you die in parts and service, you get this neat scene that seems to depict how Tootsie came to be out of order, and when you get back to the menu, Bonnie or whoever you were working on is sporting their under maintenance appearance. Anyway, while working on Bonnie, you'll have to keep a constant ear out for Tootsie's activity until he's all fixed up and you're free to leave. Our character moves to depart the pizzeria for the night, but stops as they hear music begin playing from another room. Upon investigating, they find something interesting. This begins the third part of this fan game, the arcade mini-games. Each day after parts and service, we'll return here to play this arcade game. Whether there is more to it or not, for now, we're just going to follow directions. And today, those directions have us playing as Freddy, who needs to go around and check on what his friends are doing. Now while Freddy's off doing that, I'll yap a bit about the game itself. The pixel art is really charming here, and the pizzeria is faithfully translated from the night shift layout into a traversable map. There are cute little references here and there, like a Freddy and Space Cabinet in the arcade, and each character's portraits and animations reflect their unique personalities well. Their dialogue is fitting too. As we go around experiencing it all, we're noting two new characters, those being Harley and Anne. While you might have missed Harley, Anne is notable because you definitely would have noticed Foxy's new companion if you checked the Pirate Cove camera on night 1. This is an interesting way to introduce you to characters that you'll be fighting off later. And just as a side note, it's cool that Anne seems to have been created as a previous version of Roxanne Wolf, given she is now the only mainline animatronic to not have a classic variant, now that we know of Classic Monty and Secret of the Mimic. As Freddy finishes speaking to his friends, a garbled score screen appears, and we're thrust back to the main menu right after, the man himself staring us down in the back. That is because, as it turns out, he is coming out to play in night 2. The day shift guard lets us know that Freddy's a little different than the other two robots. He loves spending time in the dark, and he's antsy about all that light coming from the office. So naturally, he'd like to come on over and try to break that pesky fuse box keeping the lights on, taking out all the power in the pizzeria in the process. He comes to the same door as Bonnie and Chica do, of course, given that's where the fuse box is. But this is where I start to get confused about the game design at play here. A power outage is an instant death, yeah, but so is letting Bonnie or Chica inside. So Freddy getting to the fuse box is essentially just the same thing again, except the sequence takes a long time to finish, so maybe you'd be able to beat the night in the middle of it. But it just feels kinda pointless to give Freddy this unique gimmick, only to have it make him less dangerous than everyone else. Especially when he's supposed to be the big boss. And speaking of everybody else, they're not all that dangerous either. In fact, the thing that's most likely to kill you here isn't an animatronic, it's boredom. Since every animatronic comes to this one door, there's nothing to stop you from just sitting on the light the entire night and staring until somebody shows up for you to shut out. The only reason I ever died this night was because I was messing with the cameras trying to pass the time and Freddy snuck in. Good enough time to mention that the jump scares are pretty well animated, I suppose. The rest of the night passes by uneventfully. Afterwards, it's back to parts and service to work on Chica this time, who is looking pretty unsettling. I tell you, it's always those damn bird mascots. Chica's jaw is broken, and the cupcake's candle has a burnt out bulb, so our repair will be a bit lengthier this time, but otherwise it plays out the same, Tootsie included. The only thing different about her is that she's moving a bit faster. When Chica's fixed, it's off to the arcade game again, where we now play as Bonnie. Bonnie's been tasked with cleaning the pizzeria in preparation for a party that week. But there's something else thrown in too, a weird stray robot he must avoid. This robot appears to be half an endoskeleton crawling around, and touching it takes a heart from your health in the upper left. If you lose all your health, the minigame abruptly ends and you don't get to complete it unless you reset your save. No secrets to be found from doing that, so it's best to stay away. Make sure it's in another room before you clean something, since it takes a second to complete the task. The minigame is pretty straightforward otherwise, leading back to the garbled score screen on completion, then the title screen again, where we're staring down Foxy and Anne this time. Speaking of Foxy, I want to briefly show a cute detail from the arcade game. If you clean near him, he sneezes. Anyway, night 3. Tonight, the day shift guard mentions that she forgot to tell us about 2 more characters, the Foxes and Pirates Cove. Those, of course, being Foxy and Anne. Foxy is actually quite slow in this game, since he's got a peg leg. The role of the speed demon is instead given to Anne, who moves out of the cove before the guard's even done speaking. But in another confusing bit of game design, this doesn't matter at all. Both foxes will come to your window instead of your door, so the shutter one is a window. Got it. Details, details. Anyway, there isn't a penalty for keeping the light on at the window either, and the foxes both make loud noises when they arrive. Foxy makes a single heavy step, and Anne makes several lighter steps. So you don't even need to be looking at the window to know if they've shown up, allowing you to keep on staring down the back door the entire night, making it nearly just as boring as the previous one. Unlike most Foxy mechanics used in other fan games, the Pirate Cove camera isn't at all necessary for these foxes, despite how often the game tells you to keep an eye on it. I thought about how I might have improved this segment, and I thought that maybe if you didn't look at the camera, an attention meter could decrease, and the foxes would gradually become faster and faster until they were a constant bother, forcing you to give them attention to get them to slow down their assaults. That way you can't just treat them like the other 3 characters, and their unique focus on speed still comes into play. Despite the lackluster inclusion of these 2, I do like their sound design. Their high regression is pretty obvious by their expression and the force of the slam on the window they both make. Were I here in person, I would definitely be scared for my life. Night 3's not much harder than Night 2, and so it's on to parts and service again, this time to work on Freddy, who has been stripped naked! Talk about a bear.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Freddy's voice box is broken, and it's located in his chest. That's why they went ahead and removed his fur before handing him over to us, so we wouldn't have to shave him ourselves. Once he's opened up though, it's the same old, just with the introduction of a new noise. I'm not sure what this is. I originally thought it was us tinkering with the voice box, but that doesn't seem to be the case since it still plays, and more often at that, in the next parts and service section. And that one doesn't deal with a voice box. Maybe it's just meant to be a distraction? With that, I guess I can say that these segments are becoming a bit boring, no longer standing as a new challenge to break up the nights, but rather the same old thing after every shift. Tootsie's moving faster, yes, but it's not like she's that hard to get rid of, and since you don't lose progress on repairs when you pause them, there is no stress that results from checking on her before she even runs. I feel like there should have been varied repair methods other than holding the mouse button, or a new threat introduced at this point, even if it was a minor thing. What about this weird bunny jester thing in the back? It never does anything the entire game, but its design is interesting. Perhaps having a threat both in front of you and behind you would have kept the tension up regardless of the direction you were facing, even making it so that checking on Tootsie when she hasn't run yet would punish you on later nights. With Freddy out of the way, the arcade game tonight features Chica. She's upset that that strange robot from last night has stolen all of her ingredients, and without them she can't make a cake for the party. She's gotta find them all before they go bad, and of course avoid that rogue robot while doing so. Nothing special here for now, though I have to question if Freddy is okay. When we head back to the menu, there's an unfamiliar face in the room. This one is about to shake things up a bit, finally. Tonight we're being introduced to Harley the Puppet. Harley is the only character that requires you to be using the cameras. While you might not have noticed them before, they're hanging out in the back of the arcade, shrouded in darkness. Throughout the night, they'll sneak off that camera to do one of two things. The first they'll probably try is sneaking into the kitchen vent. If you hear bells and some thumping, check that camera right away and use some kind of intercom system on the X key to send them back to their spot. If you don't do this in time, they'll get to your office through that vent and kill you. Their second trick is causing camera interference. If they're missing from their spot and the camera is flickering with this awful noise, you have to flip through every camera until you find Harley staring you down and use the same prompt from before to send them away. This time, if you don't stop them, they'll take a fuse instead of killing you. Harley is a good addition to the roundup. My only gripe with Night 4 is that since Foxy and Ann are disabled for this night, it's back to the old stare at the back door strat, just with a bit of camera checking. But I guess if they weren't gone for now, there'd be nothing new on Night 5. I wonder if one of the foxes should have been reserved for later or something. Foxy's on the table for parts and service today, and he needs a new hook and eyes. Same deal, repair him and fend off a very speedy Tootsie. Come time for the arcade minigame, it's time for Ann to decorate for the party. Same deal here too, avoid the rogue robot while completing the task. Though I like how throughout the nights we can see the pizzeria getting gradually more festive. It started out with all this trash everywhere, and now we can see balloons floating by as we travel. The decorations Ann puts up will also persist tomorrow. It's a nice touch. Time for the final night. As we roll up to the menu, everyone's watching us this time. Oddly though, when we get into the shift, the day guard tells us that management doesn't want us coming into work tomorrow. Not because of anything we did, just for vague reasons they won't explain. But it's not important right now because everyone is active tonight, making for a hectic experience. With all entry points compromised and Harley messing with the cameras, finally things get a bit difficult. You'll have to be on your toes to survive, but compared to other Night 5s I've been through, I'd say it was about mid-range in difficulty. On completing this night, we have no duties in parts and service, instead heading straight to the arcade game, where the final segment has us playing as Foxy. All Foxy needs to do is gather his friends for the party. Hey, that's not one of them. Guess he's not interested in coming either, though he looks awful smug about something. That rogue robot is nowhere to be found today, and the reason for that becomes obvious when we fetch Freddy. When everyone's been gathered for the party, which is actually a birthday party for Harley, the cake is set down and we win. But that's not it. There is no ending just yet. The menu now shows a menacing pair of eyes staring right at us, with the option to continue to overtime. Despite being asked to stay home, our character comes back, feeling called to. The building is quiet, but suddenly they hear a noise. They head over to investigate the room it came from, but there's no one there. It smells like chemicals. Checking one of the garbage bags on the floor, our character is shocked to find they are filled with the bodies of children. But before they can collect themselves, the door behind them creaks open and they are brutally attacked by someone in a yellow rabbit suit. They attempt to fight back, but it's not long before everything goes dark. Yet something pulls them out of that darkness, something sinister that won't let you leave. And suddenly we are thrust into what could be considered Night 6, and it is drastically different than anything else we've seen so far. We still need to last to 6 AM, but this time, mechanics are gradually introduced as the night becomes harder and harder. Our first encounter is with the entity that dragged us here. On the creepy teeth computer in front of us, we can switch camera views using these 2 arrow buttons. Every so often, the shadow rabbit will appear on a camera, getting really close after a bit. When it does, its eyes will begin to fade in over your vision, and if you let them become opaque enough, it'll kill you. To get rid of the rabbit, you have to be looking at the camera it's on and press the red button to instantly dispel it. There's also a TV that can come on in the room behind you, but I'm not sure it can kill you. To be safe, I always turned to watch it until it turned off. At 1 AM, a new threat emerges. Sometimes the TVs besides the teeth computer will turn on to show a laughing masked clown. You have to put on the matching mask on your desk to get them to leave. It can either be this red one or this one that looks like Ballora, but she is most common later in the night. At 2 AM, the door to your right comes into play. If you hear a loud grinding sound, there will be a masked Bonnie attempting to open it and come through. You have to stare them down to close the door and prevent it, and stay there until the door is all the way closed. It will open again if you leave early. 3 AM brings a masked Chica into the mix. She is simple, you just have to shove her off your desk after she climbs onto it. The 4 AM threat is a bit more stressful as the 2 masked fox children loudly attempt to shake off the gate in the window behind you. You have to stare them down until they leave. Thankfully, it seems to take them a minute before they actually do anything, but best not to take chances. As the end of the night nears, everything starts speeding up. Enemies spawn faster and kill faster. Despite a new graphic showing on the TV behind you, that being scary eyes, which may or may not be able to kill you, I never stuck around long enough to find out, your top priority needs to be the shadow rabbit. Whenever you get a break, you need to be looking for him, because if someone else spawns while he's fading in, their kill timer will almost always be longer than his, so he'll get you while you're dealing with them. It can get pretty stressful near the end with how frequent spawns are and how aggressive everything sounds, but in the end, we are suddenly plunged into darkness again. The monsters who were trying to attack us try to bring us back, but they're too far away to hurt us. We're dying and we know it as we turn to a bright light, feeling at peace before we stop feeling anything at all. And that's Animatronic Memories! As the game so bluntly lets us know, we got the bad ending. Fitting given we died. I got this ending very intentionally. I did notice the game trying to get me to do stuff to get the better ending, glitching out objects in the arcade minigames. Each one makes a loud noise when it spawns. But I ignored them for the sake of having a straightforward playthrough. Now that we've been through the worst outcome, let's go ahead and check out those glitched objects this time. There are 5 glitched objects in total, and each one is in every arcade minigame. It starts with Freddy and a glitched entryway. Entering it makes the game freak out and changes our surroundings into a black void with broken objects around. A lanky, crying figure stands nearby. The only way to go is up, where a lone Freddy plushie sits. Grabbing it and taking it to the figure shows us what is likely the backstory of how Freddy came to be possessed. By the dialogue on screen, it seems to suggest that this game has reminded the spirit of how they got here. We may be taking a similar approach to the ending of the FNAF movie, where Abby had to show the animatronics that Mike was not the bad guy and that William had been manipulating them. As a quick aside, every animatronic has these death flashback scenes, even Harley, but since you never play as Harley, theirs occurs when you die to them. Couldn't really decide on a better place to mention that. As we continue to play through the game, the glitched objects include a set of booths for Bonnie, the sinks for Chica, a table for Anne, and an arcade cabinet for Foxy. After interacting with each, the animatronic must collect their own plushie. Every animatronic besides Freddy must do a puzzle to collect theirs, culminating in Foxy needing to find everyone else's in order to get his own. Only after this has been done do we see the death of the current animatronic, making them remember what happened. When everyone has been reminded, we once again return to the pizzeria when told not to come back. This time, our character heads to the office to see who's taken over their shift, only there is no one there. They grow uneasy, feeling as if they are being watched, but they begin their shift as normal. This night is basically a harder night 5. No new mechanics are introduced, sadly, even though it would have made sense for the yellow rabbit to be involved, but this falls more under creative direction rather than game design. Still, I feel like I have to say how it pales in comparison to how cool the overtime was for the bad ending. After completing this night, our character goes to play the arcade game, where we would have finally played as Harley, but it's interrupted by the children's spirits revealing themselves to us. Before we can react, we're smacked over the head with a wrench and are knocked unconscious, with our assailant revealed to be the yellow rabbit. The spirits immediately react to him, and the animatronics in the building come to life to head on over for some long-awaited revenge. But they're stopped short as the rabbit pulls out some kind of electrical device, causing them to short-circuit and fall limp. He laughs, satisfied. However, and with that, the yellow rabbit is slain and we have achieved the true ending. This game is such an interesting case. It's got so much going for it, but most of the good parts fall outside of the main gameplay, making my feelings on it mixed. I want to like it so bad, but I can't deny that I had to have coffee to play this game if I didn't want to fall asleep on nights 1 to 3, with 4 and 5 being only slightly more demanding. Then there was the whole issue with parts and service overstaying its welcome. The only part I didn't have any issue with was the arcade machine and the overtime for the bad ending. But outside the gameplay, it'd be a shame not to mention the real effort that went into the details. The main animatronics have multiple jump scares depending on what direction you were facing when you died. The yellow rabbit is obviously gloating when you're on the bad ending path, and there is one thing that legitimately scared me. When you complete any ending, you get access to the extras menu, and at the very end of the development section, there is a little present. If you click on that present, this is really cool, and I imagine a lot of people didn't catch it. so I want to throw it in. It's a pretty flawed game, but one with a great code of auditory and visual paint that almost makes up for it. The evident passion in this still has me excited for whatever this team makes next, even if it's not a game. Well, I think that's all from me now. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to my new editors. Before you ask, no, they're not editing this. I am because it's supposed to be a surprise. Please give your appreciation to the following names. And to everyone that applied, even if I couldn't hire all 40 of you. Thank you. Anyway, this has been Glamrock Dusky, and remember, have a phasorific day. This has been Glamrock Dusky, and remember your lines because that would help.